Hello and welcome to the Flix Forum podcast, where each episode we go back and we look at a Netflix original film in the order of release. Today we have Netflix 437th film from 2021. It's the Italian drama called My Brother, My Sister, or Mio Fratello, Mia Sorella. It's directed by Roberto Capucci and stars Alessandro, Preziosi, and Claudia Pandolfi. I am Jesse, I am your host. Thank you for joining me today for this Netflix original film. As always, if this is a movie that you haven't seen yet and you're interested in checking it out, give us a pause, come back a little bit later on, but my guess is you've probably never heard of this, and if you are listening, you probably have already watched it. So let's get into the show. We start with our Fast Flicks, where we do a quick little summary of what the film is all about. So this one, it's about the patriarch of a family who passes away. Two distant siblings must come together to work out the terms of his will. There we go. If we jump over to Netflix, their logline is, when their father's will forces them to live together, siblings Nick and Tesla's kids try to overcome their differences to become a family. There we go. Very sweet. Around the world, what is this one called? So in Chinese, it's called Family Bonds Are Unwavering. Cool. That makes sense. In Hungarian, it's called Brotherly Love. I think that maybe takes out a little bit of the context of the other parts of the family. In Turkish, it's called Brother Sister, sure. And in Vietnamese, it's called Love and Family. So there we go. Some titles around the world. Obviously, My Brother, My Sister, because that is what this film is about. Not just one pair of brothers and sisters, but another pair of siblings, which we'll talk about very soon. This was filmed in and around Roma in Lazio in Italy from the 31st of August 2020 until the 2nd of October 2020, and it hit Netflix worldwide on the 8th of October 2021. As always with international films, it's often quite hard to find anything else out, so let's jump into what the critics and audiences are saying about this film. On Rotten Tomatoes, this does not have a critical consensus. There's only 2 critic reviews, one fresh, one rotten. The audience, however, it sits at 54%. That is on less than 50 ratings, but you would say on the negative side. But if we jump over to IMDb, it sits at a 6.1 out of 10. That's an okay score, but only on 1,300 ratings. And the same for Letterboxd. It's only been rated by 1,100 people. Sits at a 2.9 out of 5, and it's been logged by 1,600 people. So overall, not a lot of I guess, criticism or talk or discussion around this film, but that's why I'm here to bring out some of these deep, dark dives from Netflix. What are my early thoughts on this one? So, I mean, it's fine. It's a decent family drama. It plays out well. It's got some good beats, but the end is a little bit controversial, I guess. I think it maybe brings it down or lets the film down a little bit with how it finishes. But let's get into all about this film. The director, Roberto Capucci, he's got 5 directing credits. This is only his second feature after a film called Wurundjeri and Bunurong. Looks like he works in Rome a lot, his home city, so often probably shows this city off to the world and to other parts of Italy as well. This film, some characters. Let's talk about the characters. So our 2 siblings that we'll talk about first. We've got Nick and Tesla. So Nick is the carefree brother of Tesla. He's been absent from the family for a long time with no reason other than, I guess, or any reason that anyone could understand other than him being, I guess, self-indulgent. And he returns because his father passes away. And he rocks up in the middle of the funeral and does a little speech that everyone's impressed with, except those closest or those who have stayed in Rome as a family. So when their father's will, his and Tesla's father's will's read out, their father has left the house that Tesla and her kids live in to both of them, and this creates even further friction between Tesla and Nick because Tesla is a control freak, and I think she's struggled a lot since being left by her husband, and her struggles with life, I guess, have created a barrier between her and her daughter, as has the impairment that her son has to deal with too. So this is tricky because she's so overprotective of her son, it's pushed her daughter away, even though she is struggling herself because we see, or the audience sees her drinking an awful lot. She's on a dating app, but she struggles to get the courage to take this out into the real world to meet this person. So when Nick arrives, this creates even more friction. And the kids, Tesla's kids, Carolina, obviously I've said she struggles with this overbearing mother of Tesla and keeps a lot of secrets from her due to this inability to connect with her. And I guess the positive for her is the grandfather leaves her this camper van that she can leave the house, and she turns it into a business to set herself up with and get out of the house and her controlling mother, even though she feels a little bit of regret about leaving her brother behind, Sebastiano. So this son of Tesla and Carolina's brother, he's struggling with schizophrenia, and it causes a great friction amongst the family. He has a passion for classical music, playing the cello himself, as well as space and all those things that have to do with space and exploration and wanting to live on Mars. But this impairment makes life hard for him and for his family as well. The other side characters are Emma, Carolina's friend. She has maybe this weird thing for Nick, but is also a musical support for Sebastiano throughout. And Giada, this is Tesla's friend who used to be Nick's partner, but she cheated on him with their dad, if that makes sense. Go figure. I've already said spoilers, so here we go. Let's talk about some scenes. What stood out, what didn't work in this one, things that worked. There's a scene where Nick, he's running around Rome, exercising, running around the city, and there's some beautiful drone tracking shots and this glorious shot of the Colosseum, and it just highlights how beautiful Rome is. I think I've probably mentioned on this show before that I've been to Rome a couple of times, 3 times I think I've been to Rome, and my memories of it are so much better now than when I was younger. It's such a beautiful place. There's a scene where Nick comes into the house and he drops his bag, he's moving in, and he says to Tesla, I can see your touch, you've made it boring. I thought that was quite funny. Nick, obviously, he's causing this friction being in the house, and he's naked in the bathroom, and it causes this commotion because Tesla is just like, you're gonna freak Sebastiano out. And then there's this other scene where Sebastiano walks in on a naked woman that Nick's brought home. And he goes to his mum, Tesla, and says, the bathroom's being used by a naked woman. It was quite funny, quite a humorous moment. Nick quizzes Tesla on Sebastian's diagnosis and him wanting to help her, and she explains the pain that she feels from the pity of everyday people and strangers in the street. I thought that was a really well-performed scene and an impactful scene too. Nick's on the piano at one moment, and then Sebastian gets up out of bed, gets on the cello and plays with him, and Tesla's crying. It was a nice, sweet moment. I liked Tesla and Carolina having that nice mother-daughter day together. They reconnect, and I thought that was really sweet. Especially there was this play throughout the film of Carolina refusing to call her mother mum. She only called her Tesla, so she calls her mum, and I thought that was sweet. And finally, this isn't like a standout scene, but Sebastian gets run over by a car. It took me by surprise and sort of threw me off towards the end. So it's a bit of a turning point. So let's jump into the forgettable scenes, or the things that didn't work. There were these cuts between the lawyer with Nick and Tesla hearing the will and Sebastiano having a freak out. It was a bit silly. Nick and Tesla, they shoot hoops, play some basketball, and annoy the neighbors at night. It just felt like it wasn't needed. The same with Tesla throwing this. She finds a bra, underwear in the house, throws it in the bin, has a go at Nick about not having a family himself, and he bites back at her about her parenting. It felt like it was a scene that should have been somewhere else in the film. The scene prior, they just progressed in their relationship and were starting to build this family. It just felt very off and not needed. And finally, Sebastian waking in the hospital bed at the end, and this ghost-like version of him jumps out of his body to tell each member of the family how they should live. It was just like, what? Especially this follow-up scene at the beach where there's the spraying of ashes and there's this fake out that the ashes were Sebastian's after this cut from the hospital, but it's the grandfather's ashes, and the family are all there, and all of a sudden Sebastian's fine to hug his family and go in the water and swim. It felt off. It almost felt like he was cured, which can't be true. It felt so weird in a weird way to end the film. So anyway, let's move on. The themes, the ideas in this film. Obviously healing and acceptance of grief and overcoming loss and accepting people for who they are. That all plays a big part in this film, as well as the sibling bond. That idea that it's always going to exist, your family for life. It's not just a sibling bond when you're young, but when you're in your older years too, seen through Tesla and Nick, and obviously the younger version seen through Carolina and Sebastiano with that regret, I guess, and that pain that she feels when she moves away from her brother and feeling hopeless in not being there for him, and him her always worrying about him reaching out and asking where she is, and having to use her friend as that middleway almost because she gives Sebastiano music lessons. But that ties in obviously the importance of family, and for Sebastiano, that idea of time and space, and what does it all mean? How does it all come together? And this is seen a little bit through the power of music too, and often classical music and space tie in well together. What did I take away from this film? What else? I think the opening scene in the church, while it wasn't bad, it felt empty. It just felt like a few people sitting there while there was some people on stage. And it wasn't until I was putting my notes together for the show that I thought about, this is that COVID time. This was that really bad COVID time, especially in Italy. And it felt empty probably because of the strict guidelines around spacing and social distancing and things like that. And that's the same for the performance scene at the end where Sebastiano and Emma go on stage. It makes sense now. I get it now. So, you've got to take a film for the time of when it was produced as well. Some questions, some pondering, some thoughts to finish the show off. So Tesla, she drinks that red wine literally every shot in the film. It wasn't like she was a full alcoholic, but it was like this was that motif or that resemblance of the struggles she was facing in having to care for her son so much. I thought that was an interesting thing that wasn't really touched on through dialogue or realistically. So that was interesting. There's this cut to Nick at night outside in the film at one stage. And I wrote that in my notes, and this is just a random thing, but I couldn't get the idea of Nick at night out of my head. The Nickelodeon programming that used to run at nighttime, so children's television and Amanda Bynes and things like that. And that was just a random connection. Up until the concert at the end, I thought the film was going fine. It was a really nice family drama. And I think it was wild that they had Sebastiano get run over by a car. I literally paused the film and went back to check the color of the car to make sure it wasn't Nick that had run over him. Through the editing, it almost made it seem like it was his fault, and that was going to be another reason for Tesla to hate her brother. And it just felt weird that then they could use this idea of his schizophrenia or something to heal all of them. But at the end, I don't know. It's hard. And that idea too, maybe this answers it. There was one scene where it seemed like Sebastiano was stashing his medication, his pills. And after his accident, is it because now he's taking his medication, he's properly medicated, and that explains why he's actually hugging his family and splashing around in the ocean and having a good time? I'm a little bit confused. I would have liked a little bit more of an explanation. And the other sort of thing that I noticed, there's a lot of songs in this film, a lot of music, but they were all in English. It felt weird. I watched it in Italian with English subtitles, but the songs were still in English. So I'm not sure. I couldn't really tell whether that was done in the access. But yeah, interesting. Other than that, let's wrap it up. We give the film a rating out of 5 on this show. For me, I probably would have liked the film more if it didn't have the problematic ending that I've sort of talked about. The whole film plays that idea of schizophrenia well. It's represented well, but it sort of undoes. Struggling with my words today. It undoes all undos. It gets rid of all that good work by the end. I think it's still worth a watch. It's still a good family drama. Even if you just stop watching at the recital at the end, you'd be all right. But I'm giving this a 3 out of 5. It's an okay film. Give it a watch if you want. We're on socials. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, and we have X, formerly known as Twitter. Give us a follow. Give us a like. The question for this episode that I wanted to put out there was, do you have a will? Obviously, this whole film is based on the will of a father and a grandfather and leads or is that catalyst into what happens in this film. Something I've got to get done, I think. I need to ensure that I've got a will that's properly set out so there's no arguments, there's no disagreements, there's no issues for those that I leave behind. I think that's an important thing to do. So if that's the message you take away from this, go for it. Other than that, we are back next week with another international film from 2021. This one is actually from Japan. It's an adult animated film called Bright Samurai Soul. It's directed by Kohei Ishiguro and stars the voices of Alessandro Yuki Nomura, Daisuke Hirakawa, and Shion Wakayama. There we go. Sounds a bit like maybe it's an anime, but anyway, we'll have a look. We'll get into that next week. Hope you enjoyed this show and you're looking forward to that one next week, and I'll see you then.